And welcome in, everybody, to another episode of The Compassionate Holistic. I am Wendy, your partner in holistic care, because you're a self-healer. I'll keep saying it because it's true, and that is how we've gotten lost, thinking that others or other things outside of ourselves can heal us for us. Which is an actual myth for sure. It turns out that we have to be the action doers for our wellness. So today we come together to talk about caregiving and a more compassionate, holistic approach to it. And that is in us doing for ourselves and being more compassionate towards ourselves. I believe that's the answer to a lot of what ails us for sure. So just to start out, and you'll see me glance down every now and then. I have a few notes, humble to it for sure, this process. I'll keep using the newbie card for another, maybe when we get to September when it's 1 year. So anyway, to clear up about self and caregiving, so we have the person we're caring for over here, we have us over here as caregivers, and so it seems to be right that it's all give. So you're the caregiver. You're giving the all of the attention over here to this person. But again, in actual factual reality, the caregiver needs to give in first before they're able to give out. And that goes for everybody, not just caregivers. It's just that they do it intentionally more often. So we need to look at it that way for sure. We need to come back to reality and know that caregiving is actually having to pour inward before you can actually pour outward. And I know you can say, oh, I've done it. I've given and given and given and not given to myself. And, I'm here. But are you thriving? Are you thriving on your time off and pouring into your life where growth is inevitable? I'll just put it that way. So as I said before, it's about empowering the player, you empowering you, me empowering me, because this life is unpredictable at best. So when it comes to caregiving, it's almost like an above and beyond kind of calling. And so it definitely requires a lot of giving inward in order to give outward and still be okay up here for sure. And physically, let's face it. And unfortunately, that's becoming more and more where the caregivers are finding themselves in physically threatening situations, which is not okay in my books. Okay. Okay, so how do we do this self-care in order to give outwards? Well, it's pretty big. It's a pretty big basket that we have to implement intentionally in order to be that strong oak tree for the people surrounding us and the people we're responsible for. And so the answer, first of all, is self-protection. If you're going into an unpredictable, unsteady environment, you need self-protection first. And I'll say, of course, that comes from loving yourself enough to do it all the time and to keep in mind, top of mind, actually, that you are the one that it has to come first. Like I said, it's a little repetitive, but I have to keep saying it, that you are the one that has to have this beefed up in order to go out there and be, again, the advocate for somebody else. So what does that look like? What does our solutions look like? Well, sometimes it's about building, like I said, building up this player here. And other times it's about really making those hard decisions where we absolutely have to and just cannot. Not that we can't see another way out, but there just isn't one. It doesn't exist. At that time, it's self-protective to get up and get the heck out of there, right? And sometimes, of course, that decision lies in our head for longer than it should, where we are thinking about it and thinking about it and thinking about changing the situation by either leaving or doing something differently. But then, of course, we don't do it, and then we get ill because of it. We end up getting mentally and physically sick aka burnout. So when it comes to that, those hard decisions, we have to look at it in terms of, not in terms of winning or losing. And let me explain myself. So when we think about leaving a workplace, say, I'll use this as an example because it's perfect for it. Leaving a workplace and making that decision, but thinking in your mind, and this is an egoic thought for sure, thinking in your mind, well, if I leave, then that means they win. And I'm here to tell you that is fake news for sure. It's not they who win. It would be you who would be winning by self-protecting out of there, right? So that, watch that thought. If you are in that situation, really watch that, because that can certainly hold you up from moving forward and thinking that, like, I've slaved my guts out here. I've given and got nothing back. And so why should I have to up and leave? Things should get better. But sometimes they never do. So we have to certainly take into consideration that tough decisions are the most self-protective sometimes. And when we look at these tough decisions, when we think of from a courage point of view, the courage to be able to stand up for ourselves, well, that certainly comes from meeting ourselves, loving ourselves. Oh, Wendy, you keep talking about that, but that is what it is. I can't change it. It's the only thing I've seen heal people is self-love for sure. And it does give that courage and that motivation required to stand up and say, I am no longer for this. I've obviously given. Now I'm going to win by getting up and out of there. So it's a little bit of a matter of changing our thinking and our perspective when it comes to our jobs as healthcare workers. So let's talk about, and this is not funny. I guess that's my giggly reaction there. When I talk about breakdowns and I talk about burnout, I am going to be vulnerable once again, because right from the start of this podcast, I promised I would do so. And so I will definitely do that here. And I will tell you that I have reached the breakdown burnout twice in the past 6 years. And for me, the ultimate, like the edge of the burnout, is to just kind of laze around, stay in bed, and not get out for days. And that's what happened to me twice over the pandemic, because there were things I felt like I couldn't deal with. Here I am. I guess I dealt with them, right? Sometimes we don't give ourselves enough credit. But I guess I did need that time to come down to rock bottom to try to, climb my way back out of it and learn from it and grow from it for sure. So, but that effect, right? That lying in bed and all of that, sometimes it's hard to get out of it, and then people find themselves in a place of depression because it becomes sort of chronic. And that's, of course, where we do not want to get to, right? That burnout is burnt out. That is what I call crispy. No pun intended whatsoever, but that is to the point where you want to really make some changes there for sure. And, of course, I'll get into how I was able to get out of those times. And, of course, it does come down to a lot of acceptance and building up this player, as I said, to be able to deal with these things that get thrown at us sometimes in our faces sometimes. And like I said, those are opportunities to grow, although we don't like going through them because they're awful sometimes, right? It doesn't feel nice to be down. So, So I'm going to start off, of course, by talking about self-love. You may have to say to yourself, well, you've already just talked about it. No way. There's so much more to it. And I think when people first hear me talk about it, even online or on some of my pages there, that they really want to some people want to shy away from it because it's not something that's been brought forth as a solution to healthcare and wellness needs at all, right? It's looked at as simple, but not so at all. Because the world has gotten us where we are, it is very difficult to pull yourself back up and really pull yourself back out to get to know yourself again. And of course, we are confused and we don't understand that which we don't know, right? And so it's just sometimes a matter of leaping forward and saying, I wonder what this is all about, to really get yourself back to that good. Because like I said, it's the only thing I've seen work as a base, as a foundation for wellness in my whole career, both educations. So, as a lawyer there, I hope I've proven my point. So something we absolutely have to have, self-love. There's no way to get there. This is all what I have written here. And if we don't have it, if we don't have that self-love, that's when reaction is allowed to step in. That's where self-patient dies. Because we're not saying to ourselves, oh, I care about you enough to not let any of that stuff in. You can definitely get to that point. I'm there and still going and will for the rest of my life, growth and knowing oneself. But in terms of reaction, we all know how bad that feels. Nobody can say that feels great to be reactionary, to get that heightened sense inside of us when we see something that just really doesn't jive with us. And of course, there is ways to get out of that. There are ways to get out of it, many of them, and we will talk about some of them today. And of course, so I said, we're going to start out with self-love. So, as I've said before, in terms of an analogy, the best way to look at self-love is to look at it first from where we can all get to a place of understanding, and that is to love somebody else. We have all put our love out to somebody else, right? And especially like parents to children, and vice versa, and couples and all of those things, all kinds of love, right? Well, shapes and forms, but there's really one love, I'll say. But if somebody is a loved human and like you love somebody here, well, then they're going to be well taken care of, I think you'd say. I love them, therefore I take care of them. And that's what I mean when it's self-love. We should look at it that way. Just inputting us into the equation and removing the other person. It's us for us loving us. And, it hasn't been talked about very much because it is a very easy/hard answer. You go through to get there, and then life becomes easier as you go because you're taking care of this human being you've been given. So a loved human is well taken care of, but it takes time. Okay, as I was saying, here we are, part 2 again. We're still learning. As I said, I give myself lots of patience. And you definitely need it with this process if you've been through it before, for sure. I've talked to other podcasters and some stories, and one person showed me their first podcast, and it certainly put me at ease. The screen was black the first time, so lots of self-patience and lots of, empathy towards myself for that. Anyway, I know where I was. I was talking about if it takes a long time for the burnout to set in, or for you to, if your spirit is hidden, if you're not really connected inwardly with that self-love, well, it's going to definitely take a long time to come back out of that. And not as long, of course. This stuff takes root for years and years. And with the Meeting Me method, it's 10 weeks. I'll just put that there, to really start to begin to see how to do it and how to implement that love that we give out so often back in towards ourselves and into our lives. And so physically, when it comes to burnout, what is it that we need to look at? Well, there are 3 really important things for sure. And number 1 is nutrition. If we are depleted in terms of what we need for our metabolism, for our immunity, for our energy, then we are definitely going to feel that burnout if we're not giving inward in terms of our time, our currency to ourselves. that's going to be another layer right on top there that is going to take away from you mentally as well. Your mental health is always affected by your nutritional status. That's becoming more and more out there in science and in literature now, for sure. So when it comes to nutrition, what you really want to look at is things that do not give you that heightened sense. You don't want those sugars, those oses, high fructose, corn syrup, and those things. You don't want extra amounts of caffeine. You want to keep your nutrition in balance, in homeostasis, so that inside here is not doing all of this and contributing to your burnout, because it can be the sole reason. If we don't have our nutrition that we need, it can be the sole reason as to why you have burnout in the first place. Otherwise, besides that, if we're not taking care of ourselves in other ways, it like I said, adds an extra layer of disappointment on top of that when it comes to coming out of that burnout. And when it comes to our sleep, and with nutrition, just going back to that, if you want to avail of the episode that I did on nutrition, it will give you everything that you need to be healthy in your body, your systems, your organs, your everything. So I would suggest checking that one out. And when it comes to our sleep, secondary, is, it all intermingles, right? Our nutrition also affects our sleep, and our terms of our mind and keeping our mind clear, that affects our sleep, our spirit. It all goes together, mind, body, and spirit. And if we don't have the sleep, everybody will definitely attest to this, that we are irritable. And if things are going wrong, we aren't able to grasp onto that self-patience to come back down from up here, because we don't have the sleep, the energy to do what it is that we're trying to do. No matter how much we like the job or anything like that, that can really take us out of who we are, take us out of our baseline. And when it comes to movement, movement should be implemented compassionately, especially if you're a healthcare worker. And if you're watching and you have your routine and everything, I don't judge. I don't go against anybody for what they're choosing to do. But from my perspective, I like to look at compassionate movement because it doesn't have long-term effects on our bodies. It kind of maintains us instead of, go, go, go. And then, years later, we have bad knees or whatnot, or a lower bad back. And this job is hard enough, let alone those things. So, contrary to a lot of belief, I believe we should be doing these slow movements that really help our body and our mind and our spirit. So things like Qigong, like I mentioned before, yoga, very slow, very conscious movement that does definitely have a great effect on this body, keeping us agile, which is what we need. We want to practice movement so we can continue to have movement. I used to work on an ortho floor, and the priority there was to get the patient up ASAP because it is what heals. So there you go. And if you want to keep your independence, and believe me, you do, from what I've seen, you really want to pay attention to movement. And it will contribute to you keeping away from burnout because it produces endorphins and it spikes up that dopamine, making you feel really good, not exhausted or just depleted afterwards. It's this exercise, if you want to call it that, these types of movements, afterwards you feel like you can run a race, which is fantastic for energy supply. And further to that, we also want to look into implementing relaxation techniques, because if we if we are, and when you come home from work, you're up here, right? You're wound up is what I call it. What you want is when you come home, you don't want to do wound up things again. And that does include some of the stuff we see on social media. You might look wound down, lying there on the couch or wherever you are, but in here is still wound up. And that's where some of these mental health issues start from, is because it can't wind down. It can with certain techniques, but if there's no effort there, it's constantly wound up, and then we have anxiety stepping in. To a lot of people, it is so common, so please don't feel like you're selected if you are feeling that way, for sure. So techniques for relaxation, those movements I just talked about are two of them for sure, but meditation definitely is the pillar of relaxation. And there's different types. I want to interject and say this here, that we have investigative active meditation over here, and over here we have relaxation meditation over here. It's just like there's different yogas as well. And the intention, of course, for relaxation meditation is to come down. So I would highly suggest going with guided meditation. And you can search all kinds of topics, all kinds of mantras, all kinds of affirmations to get in here, plug them in, to get them in there and to get you rewiring this to come out more a well-protected, well-cared-for individual. So I would suggest searching up those meditations and then inputting the word relaxation. And that's a really good way to come down after you've come home from work. Also, as I've mentioned before, there is sound therapy, which is fantastic because it has a direct effect and immediate most of the time. And that is found in the Rife machine. I've talked about that before, and I'm pointing over there. It's just there next to my bed. And it really, I use it after work sometimes to come down, and it really does have that effect. You can feel it. It is a holistic approach that you can definitely feel vibrating through your body, calming down this system and bringing it back to baseline, to homeostasis. So I would definitely suggest getting that. But also further to that, you can also find this frequency on YouTube, anywhere. Just make sure that you kind of vibe with it, because there are certain ones that are out there and they're available, but that you can find a little bit off-putting. So just make sure whatever you do, just make sure you jive with it, because otherwise it's not going to work, including a therapist, I'll say. So, and also we have aromatherapy, right? Aromatherapy is very good, but we have to do that safely for sure. Incense is generally safe, and you should not have an allergy to it. If that's the case, there's inflammation inwardly, with a lot of allergies, actually. But when it comes to incense, it already has been scientifically proven to bring you back down, decreases anxiety, but by up to 87%. So that's, astonishing. Also, there are essential oils. If you can't do the incense, for sure, the essential oils are definitely relaxing. You can get all kinds of different types. Just make sure that there's non-toxic ingredients on your, it shouldn't be ingredients, it should be the oil of, right? And I really like the eucalyptus too. I really like that during cold seasons, for sure. So all of those calming, right? Very calming things. And like your teas that I mentioned before, your chamomile, saffron is an herb that can bring you back down as well. All kinds of stuff. It's just about maintaining balance, to maintain balance throughout the whole human body, mind, and soul. And so also when we come home from a shift, what is it that we're thinking about? Because that is very important. What did we take out of the day? Sometimes the bad seems to just overshadow the good. because we are depleted, right? We're just exhausted and we're like, oh, that happened and this happened and it was terrible. I've done it a million times in my past, but I'm on this little bit of a journey I'm going to let you know about now, to try to pull those good things out, because no matter what we are doing, even if we're out shopping, for God's sakes, bad things can happen, right? I'd like to say we shouldn't label a day. It's just a day and things are going to happen no matter where we are. So at the end of the day, it's a good time to sit down and review not just the bad things, to intentionally, so I'm going to do this no matter if my ego likes it or not, to pull out the good parts of the day, because I know they're there. I've been working in many places, and some people might say, it was an awful day or whatnot, but I seen you smile. I seen you giving and enjoying the giving. I've seen you laughing hysterically. All of those things that we need to intentionally get out of there, out of our minds, and bring them out to the forefront. Possibly by journaling, because that's an amazing way to do things, because then our eyes see it, and then we really do believe it. We're treating ourselves like a little kid, but true. This does really, really help. I do it every day now. And this is the journey I'm on, where I do it every day, come home and think to myself, okay, whatever the bad things were. I got through it though. So that's the first positive. And then further to that, to pick out the good parts of the day. And so many of those come flooding in, with staff, with residents, positive things happening all around me. So I'm lucky. I consider myself lucky that I'm in such an environment where I am able to be exposed to that type of thing. So you see, I could definitely say, it's an exhausting job and this happens and that happens. I could easily do that. And I had done it for many years, which did me no good whatsoever, put me further down. This microphone, I'm going to keep hitting it. So if I had kept going on that trajectory, I would have just kept going in a downward kind of a spiral. But now that I take it as, first of all, it's a day. It's just a day. I don't define it. It's a work day. I don't do that. I just get up in the morning. I say, I have a day in front of me. And then at the end of the day, bookending it with what was positive that came out of that day. And that is certainly self-protective behavior. It's not giving away or giving up and saying, I have to be angry at this because this was really bad. But you're only just holding on to the hot coal yourself if you do that, right? You might as well just give that back and take care of yourself. Okay, we're coming on to a part now where I'm very excited to talk about. if I can continue. I'm not used to all of this talking, but anyway, we're doing it, and it's good. So next, let's talk about doing what you love. Okay, so you might think I'm getting into now this job and it's what you love and you're doing it. That's not what I'm talking about. Healthcare has gotten very difficult to deal with as a worker. Very difficult. Past where it should be difficult is what I'll say. So all of these things, right, that I'm telling you, this is all for you to be able to deal with it, but not only deal with it, to come out thriving the other end. And believe me, it is possible. But I'm talking about something that you love to do aside of that job, where you have something in the background. And I don't think I know anybody who doesn't. I really do not. I think I have anybody I know has something, whether they're doing something with it or not, that they absolutely love to do, and they're very good at it. And those are the things that I'm talking about. Those are the things that we should be doing on our off time, rather than giving our time away to social media, or to things that are not going to give us that push forward that we want, push forward out of burnout. Because when we do that, that's filling our cup up, right? Say we're working this day and we're doing what we love all day. I can use even gardening as an example if you want, and you're doing that all day. And then the next day, you still have a little bit of, or maybe a lot or a moderate amount of that goodness, that feeling good with you in your body, a good rest at night then, and then off for the day the next day. So that really helps, right? That keeps some good stuff in your cup to carry with you to the next day when you go back to your regular 9 to 5 or whatever it is that you do in healthcare and in other jobs. Because this really, a lot of this stuff goes for a lot of other jobs as well, because purpose is compassion. I said that before, and it's really for a whole other show. But to allow you to do what you want to do, and in a more patient, more calmer environment in here kind of way, to really intentionally pick out something that you love to do and to do it every time that you're off. Well, that is what you need. It's same as, spending time with your little kids, family time, and then letting that fill you up for the next time you go back to your job there. So I'd like to focus it. I'm talking about the family, but I really like to focus it on the more, I don't want to call it a hobby, guys, because it's not. Like, everybody has this special spark inside of them that should be shared in different capacities, different ways for sure. And that's what I'm talking about. Yes, have your family time. You need that. That's very important, top tier. But when it comes to you individually and what you love to do, those are the things I'm saying, like cooking even, or like I like to write. I'd like to do this stuff. Those things, those are the cup fillers, I'll say. And they can definitely help you. Okay, so what about, I'm going to go back and circle back now to the tough decisions. I talked about the last straw, and the last straw should come up after you have done everything else that I've talked about here, because giving up is not, it doesn't tell us it doesn't make us look good to us. Please try to keep up with me. We don't get a good self-reflection by giving up. We think to ourselves, I'm just a quitter. That's just the way I am. But if you have done all the work, then you're able to go back and say, I love myself. I know that now. I know I love myself. And so I'm going to do for this loved person what needs to be done. And I've tried and tried and tried at this job or at this workplace, and it's just not happening. I'm a strong individual now. I've done my meeting me. I'm courageous enough to make the right decisions, and now I know 100% that I cannot continue on where I am. So that does come a point sometimes. Sometimes it just means cutting all of the ties and moving on for you. So that's very unapologetic, right? You do not apologize for that, because you, like I said, you can say, look at all this self-work I've done. I'm a very strong individual now, and I can see that this is not going anywhere. I think I'll just go ahead and grow somewhere else. There's times when that has to happen. And so when it comes to those types of things, those hard decisions, well, what would the number one trait say that you would need to have to be able to do those things? And that is self-trust. Self-trust is the only trust. Now, that's a big statement. But it is. I think that outward from that, like once you have that self-trust, outward from that, that you're giving little pieces of it, but you're never giving the whole thing if you're going to self-care the most. Because that's what really does us in when we give the whole thing and then somebody treads on it and then we're just lost completely. So we're very careful with it. So we have it for ourselves, the whole thing, and then we can give it outward if we so believe that is appropriate for us and our self-care. So how do we develop this huge self-trust in ourselves? Well, first we have to look at, have we ever said to ourselves, oh, I should have known that. I should have known better than that. Well, a lot of us have. I definitely have. Well, that means that there is some self-trust missing there because you're wondering why in the world you would do such a silly thing that turned out terrible or not good. So that's when you know. So if you can ask yourself that question and say, I have or I haven't, then you can assess your trust. So further to that, if you find out that it is lacking, it's not your fault. It's the fault of the world and the expectations of the unpredictability that bring you there to lose your self-trust and put it all out to the world and people around you and those types of things. But if we're going to not burn out, we definitely need our self-trust because we have to be able to say, no, you can't do that extra shift today. That wouldn't be good for you. And trust it instead of and responding to that and saying, oh, yeah, I have to do that. I have to help. It's just me. I'm the only one in the world that can help right now. So I have to go do that. I'm really tired, but I'm going to do it. Just one sec. Excuse me. Yeah. So I also say a lot that multitasking is not being a hero. That is not a hero whatsoever. That's taking from you until you have nothing left. So please keep that in mind. Multitasking, this crazy picking up the slack mode, it used to be looked at as heroic. For sure. Even past the, if we look back to the Industrial Revolution and then going forward, it was work, like make all the money and work. Well, that, of course, continued on. It got worse if you ask me. But we really need to step back from that and look at what we're doing to these bodies and how much do these cost. We'll have to ask ourselves that and see what answer we come up with there. So it's take that out of your wheelhouse. It's not it's not heroic to go anymore. That's the old heroic. The real heroes these days are the ones that take care of themselves because they know they have to do that in order to give outward. And boy, oh boy, do healthcare workers give outward. It is just constant. The whole shift is giving. Even when they're on their breaks, sometimes there's no break. Trust me. Okay, so another thing that we can talk about that can help us for sure. All the while, guys, keeping in mind that if your situation is a no-go, a non-starter, that you have to leave. I mean, that's just it. I want you to keep that in mind this whole time I'm talking, because I'm not talking to you as if to say, now do this for yourself and that for yourself, because, like it's you that has to do all of this. You're the problem. We're not talking that way at all. We're talking about the fact that we have to self-love, and you've heard that theme throughout here the whole time. So for another thing we can do is we have to talk about and think about the present moment. It is the only moment we have. We can only do right now. We can't do yesterday. We can't do tomorrow. We can only live and do in this moment right now. And that is self-protective because when we're at work, instead of future mind thinking, and guilty because we all do it, no matter where you work, you do it, where you're thinking, this many hours left, it's coming, and all of those things. That is really not only stealing your life, because again, you spend most of your time there, not only stealing your life, but stealing away what's going on in front of you. some of these moments are actually precious. And you know where I see that? Unfortunately, I see that after the person, your patient resident, has left this earth. That's when I see it. That's when I see the love pouring out. And you know what? We're all human, and we unfortunately don't live like we're dying. You know what I mean? But I see it so much because they love them so much. They become family. Trust me, 110% they become family. But I see it afterwards, that love just rushing out. I do see it throughout too, of course. And physically, it's happening. The love is pouring out all the time. But in our minds, if we're thinking the future thought, another hour, another 2 hours, sometimes we are missing something that might be able to give a lift up instead of a task, right? Or something we're just doing with our hands. That's where if we stay here, we stay present and grounded in the moment. Well, the time seems to go faster anyway because you are there. You're in the moment and you're not counting minutes on the clock. You're there with the person, and the person is definitely grateful for it, no matter if they can tell you or not, because human interaction is the number one medicine. I'll tell you that. So the work to do that, to come back to the present moment, is meditation, and it is in, again, loving ourselves enough to do that daily meditation. Because what it is we're doing that session, that meditation session, say at the end of the day, 15, 20 minutes, and you're thinking to yourself, well, that's then, and now that's done. But the thing is, it's training your mind as you're going to relax. So you're getting relaxation exercises for your mind every day. And then it becomes used to it, and then it grasps the ability eventually to come back to relaxation because it knows how. So that's how you do that part. And what else do we have here? Intuition. Intuition is your handbook. And this is the end of the podcast coming up here now. So intuition is the handbook that we came here with that we didn't know we did. Because it's not something that's advertised to us, that we have the actual answers and solutions to everything we run into. And the intuition, where is it located? It's located in the soul or the spirit. And so we talked about mind and body, right, when it comes to burnout. Well, I believe that burnout is also a disconnection from the spirit. Because the spirit is able to pull us out of anything that ails us, or illness, anything at all. The spirit, if gotten in contact with, will be your number one best friend, your ally and partner, to help you stay away from burnout. And I'll just put it this way. In terms of loneliness, I believe that loneliness, and I'll loop back around, but I believe that loneliness is not something where it's not liking being alone. Because a lot of people feel lonely in large crowds and large rooms. They still feel that loneliness. What I feel that loneliness is a disconnection from the spirit. It only makes sense if you feel like it, no matter which situation that you're in. It's totally disconnected, meaning that you haven't spoken to yourself in there in a long time. And if we're disconnected to speaking to ourselves, then we're disconnected from, moving about this life how we want to do it. And our spirit, like I said, is our best friend, so it has all the wise answers, the ones that we want to lead us. It's when we let this worldly given ego lead, that's when we run into trouble. And of course, the only way to come out of that is to get in contact in here. So your intuition can be found in your spirit. Your spirit can be connected to through that meditation, and then to carry on and to talk to yourself daily. This is something that I really hold true to myself. I do it all the time. because it does help me a lot. I hear people around me sometimes who talk out loud to get through the task they're doing or whatnot. And that's kind of like it. But in here, you can say other things. You can give yourself those kudos without anybody even knowing about it and say, you're doing a pretty good job because you know how to do this. You've been doing it for so long and those types of things. And so when it comes to intuition, I would suggest going back and going into my podcast on spirituality. That's where you will find that. That's where we do a meditation and we do a visual exercise where we meet our spirits face to face so that we can move on together and take this life by we will take this life right by the two things that we need the most, the self-love and the self-compassion. And once you have two of those things, well, you're off to the races then, because you won't let any of this stuff happen to you. As soon as you start to feel the burnout, you'll say, okay, I know what I've got to do. And let me also just interject here and talk about PTO or time off from work. When it comes to time off, I know we like to have, and do what you want to at the end of the day, but I know that we like to have these long stretches off in healthcare, right? But it turns out, and I've read studies on this, that taking time off throughout, sporadically, intermittently, is a much better way to approach your time off and on, your balance, because it's more balanced. It's not like all the time off here, and now we're going to come here and do like a whole bunch of time at our job. That's not going to keep you balanced. So what I would suggest is really, like I said, kind of putting some, maybe you'll do like 2 every rotation, or it's up to you, but just to expand it out so that you're constantly getting the self-care. You're constantly saying to yourself, I took this day off. I do it probably twice a month. I like to do it. I took this day off for me. And so you're automatically telling your body, and it hears it, that you love it. So see, all of these little things, if you put all of those into your basket, can definitely help you. It's all of these things that we listen to on a daily basis that we're telling ourselves that is contributing to this burnout. Like if we wake up let's start from the morning. If we wake up in the morning and we're saying, another day, whatever, let's just do it. Go ahead and, going through the motions, getting ready. Let's start the day off with coffee, sugar in the coffee. And, we're on our way now. So now we get there. Now we haven't had a coffee for a little while. Now we're irritable. We got to find another one. And then maybe all the time in our head saying like, come on, this time, come on. Or, oh my God, they're like that again. Or, oh my God, like this is happening again. Like, why won't they listen to me? Why don't they understand? Right? I know, because I've been there, and I could be there right now easily. There's stuff that happens around me, you, and everybody who is nursing and caregiving that we really don't jive with, right? We really don't agree with. It confuses us because it doesn't make sense to us. And it doesn't make sense to us because it's being implemented by people who are not doing the job. They're, handing out your rules, regs, policies, procedures, and all of those things. But they're not hand in hand with you there doing the job, are they? So that requires self-patience, because that is what it is. There's no changing that, right? So we have to turn back towards ourselves, let people do their decisions, and let the system be the system and all of that. But if you love this job and you really, really find this job a calling, if it asked for you, then I would look at this. Because if you want to keep going in it, well, you have to be the solid player to be able to do that. And I care for each and every one of you. because I know I'm doing it. But I also know that there are many solutions to get out of it if you are in that burned out and hopefully not crispy level of energy. So I'll leave you with that. Self-healing, self-loving, self-compassion, self-patience is imperative. Take care of yourselves the way that you take care of everybody else. Till next time.